Hey guys, Abner Miranda here. Today we're going to have a look at shooting one-handed. So when you are talking about one-handed, you have to ask yourself the question, why am I shooting one-handed? What has occurred that has forced me to shoot one-handed? And of course, in most instances, what we're talking about is we're referring to an injury. So if we're dealing with an injury, then the question is, what level of injury? In most injuries that are taken, whether it be support hand or shooting hand, and I'm going to have to point the gun at the camera so no one lose their mind. Most injuries happen to which hand? Support hand, because it's out there. Whether it be something skipping off of something, or you just directly taking a hit in the hand, or maybe something going by and clipping you, the point is your support hand is going to take damage. So if your support hand takes damage, well, okay, so it stands to reason that the fingers are damaged. And by the way, guys, I opened this hand, and luckily it's healed up pretty well. I opened this hand up like this a few years ago at a class. The knuckle actually was exposed. It came out, and I saw part of the tendons and bone. I was shooting underneath a vehicle, came out of the driver, basically cut through the windshield, pushed the door open, rifle down, undid the seatbelt, you know, got detangled, got out of the vehicle, hit the ground, rolled under, and started popping shots off. There was a boot kind of a setup so that you'd hit the boot, the bad guy would fall over, and you'd pop him in the chest and the face and drill over. As I hit the ground, I got on my trigger early, and I was still bouncing. And my first shot went through that little skirt portion of the vehicle where the jack goes, and the second round went higher right into the drive shaft. It was a rear-wheel drive. And the round hit and fractured, and part of it came back and sliced my hand open, and everything started to tingle here, because not only was it a hard impact of a high velocity round, it also had done some nerve damage, because I remember this area here kind of felt numb. So the point is, this finger felt a little wonky, and I think it was this one too that felt a little bit off that day and into the next day from the swelling. And by the way, I rocked it the rest of the class with super glue, so yeah, stayed in it. I was a police officer long enough to know that owning a gun doesn't make you a gunfighter. Even though the Supreme Court seems to think that police officers don't have a duty to protect, those of us that take it seriously do. Even when I left law enforcement in 2011, I still felt a sense of duty to my country and to my community and my family. I spent so many years studying firearms and tactics that I didn't want to let it go just because I was not a cop anymore, so that's why I trained. And let me finish this. So anyways, I finished the drill, and as I got up, I then looked at my hand, and it really began to run. And I basically slung up my mag and basically did this with the rifle, made sure I was face down range, racked out the last round. And the instructor was like, "Why are you manipulating your gun that way?" And I did this, and he went, "Holy crap!" And there was blood everywhere. I mean, it was everywhere. But the point is, the hand still functioned. It hurt like fire, but it still functioned. So I'm telling you, as a person who was taking a bullet in the hand, it still worked. Not as well as, but it still worked. I certainly could have still done this with blood dripping. I still could have pressed into it with a handgun if I had to. I still could have, at least with a rifle, let me grab my rifle. I still, with a rifle, could have done this with it. I could have just pushed against the mag well, leaned into the gun, and I still could have worked it, right? So there were multiple things that I could have done to deal with that problem. So when you're talking about injuries, you have to basically address what the injury is, which is why I'm holding a racquetball. I like racquetballs versus tennis balls because tennis balls have fuzz that collects blood and grit and grime and nastiness, and eventually becomes a gigantic bacterial count, whereas these can be soaped, bleached, and left in the sun. Now think about that. So what you do is you give this to the student and you say, you're required to hold this ball. That's all you tell them. And here's why. If they decide to use one little finger, I mean, if you want to be mean-spirited about it, you can duct tape. But guys, seriously, don't take all their fingers out. Give them one. Give them a pinky. Give them something. The better you are at this, the more hateful the instructors become. And I used to get industrial-grade duct tape from here all the way up and around, and I would still bite out a finger. Not because I want to give people the bird, but because this finger has a lot of power to it. This is the better finger, but this finger can also pull triggers this way. So I would always try to expose my middle finger so I had a fair amount of control. The instructor knew what I was doing, and he didn't fight me because, remember, like I said earlier, cheating is implied in a handgun fight. Or, I'm sorry, cheating is implied in a fight. If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying.
It does, but it's just ate into that dirt. If I had something around it.
There we go. That's all I need.
The magazine side. That's a hit. Hit. Move.
Moving!
Light, move. Move. Hit the light target. Hit. Hit. Yellow. White from the front. White. Red, find it, you colorblind. White and yellow. Red from the top. The other car, watch. There you go. Blue. Hit. Yellow.
This is a note to my fellow instructors. Guys, don't take your students' entire hands away. As you can see here, I'm supporting the gun with one finger and I'm getting hits on target from 100 yards away. If you take away the student's entire hand, you take away their ability to compute, basically to compute ways around what you've created for them to have to fight through. Let them figure it out.
Fix it. Go to the other vehicle. Hit that red on the right-hand side of the other vehicle. Talk to your buddy. Hit blue from the rear. Rep. White. Work your way up. White. Maybe use the car. Use an advantage. Hit. Miss. Hit. Red and it's over. There you go. Nice. Get your pistol hit. Give me a pistol hit. Work down. Hit! Woo! Threats down! Look it out there! Threats down!
You've got the student holding a racquetball in their hand, and you say to them, I need you to give me 5 accurate shots on target. So what I do is, I get in a good fighting stance, and I make a crook with my hand, and I push my gun into it. If you have stacked the deck on your student, which I would highly suggest that you do, you could strip down their rounds or whatever, and it now forces them to do a reload. Now, if you are planning properly, if you're wearing your gun, because I'll get to the other part. If you're wearing your gun the way you're supposed to, the gun goes on this side and your support ammo goes on this side. The reason I'm giving all this information to you guys is because I have done an exceptionally high level of injured shooter, weapons manipulation, weapons movement. All these different classes that I've done all included a lot of one-handed techniques, which is why I now carry an extra mag on my shooting side. And I've actually had people say, why are you carrying a mag on this side too? Because you're a lefty. I go, yeah, but what happens when I get hurt on my left hand? And I have to transfer over to my right hand. That's why I have a mag over here too. So anyways, all right, so gun goes empty. There are a bunch of different ways that are taught to load a gun one-handed. What I'm going to say to you is I'm going to show you the easiest way that I found. I teach people to constantly retain the weapon and stay mobile on their feet at all times. So what you do is mag out, you're dumb hand, your injured hand, can still sweep up on your garment. Weapon goes back into the holster, and this is why I carry a mag on my shooting side. Mag goes in, weapon comes up. Now this is where people differ. I have seen techniques where people tell you to invert the gun and catch it on the edge of a sidewalk if you're prone. If you're kneeling, catch it on the edge of your boot or your shoe and rack it. Catch it on the edge of a barrier and rack it. I don't like any of those techniques, and here's why. It automatically puts you in a position where you're looking for some object to use. Oh, the other one is your buckle, your holster. Those are for when you're having to clear a malfunction, and I'll get to that in a second. Straight up reload is weapon and holster, mag in the gun, weapon comes up, drop the slide. Now you notice I did that left-handed, all right? For those of you that are righties, it's that right there. Guys, this does not have to be difficult. This has to just be very straightforward. You want the least amount of steps to remember in a fight. So it's sweep the slide catch forward and then get back in a shooting stance. If you're talking about malfunctions, that's an entirely different animal. Malfunctions are, they're not slightly different, they're dramatically different. All right, let's do the obvious one. The one that is the biggest problem with Glocks. If you retard the slide on a Glock, meaning slow it down by pressing hard in with your support hand here, which by the way, that's why I don't like these serrations up here, because if you're not running a pistol light, if you have a pistol light, it gives you something to shelf against to keep that muzzle down. If you're not running a pistol light, you really truly are running a risk of potentially grinding this area pretty bad, which is why I have accelerator cuts on both of my Glocks. Both meaning this Glock 19 and my backup Glock 19. They both have accelerator cuts. That gives me something to safely shelf against. I still make contact with the slide all the time, but the slide is smooth, so it just slides right past my skin. If you retard the slide, you could potentially cause this malfunction right here. So let's say, once again, we're doing this one-handed. You pull the trigger, and now you focus on what the heck is going on. So now it's tap. Now the question is, well, crap, my fingers aren't working. Well, you could hook across the back, which you could potentially open your hand up. So we're not going to do that one. If the instructor is giving you the ability to pinch, bro, pinch. And this malfunction is easily cleared this way. And by the way, guys, if you're a righty, everyone keeps telling you to do this stuff. Do the reach over the top. Guys, every malfunction on a Glock can be cleared from a right-handed position, can be cleared by slingshotting the gun. Everything. You don't have to cant the gun over to use the ejection port, guys. Make it easy on yourself. I'm going to try to remember to link a video that Dave Spalding did, because he does a much better job explaining this. And frankly, I worked really hard on that video. So the technique for clearing this, whether you're righty or lefty, is just straight up rack that gun. So here it's tap, rack. If I've been told I can have something of use, even if it's just pinching it against here, just a thumb, okay? But if they say to me I can't have anything, okay, fine. Then it's this against my holster, and I rack with the weapon pointing outward, not straight down, but hook it, point it out, and then push. The reason that I like doing this above doing this, you know, tap, rack, is because once again I'm stuck trying to find an object in my environment, or I'm stuck going to a knee to use the bottom of my foot. I want to stay on my feet and I want to stay mobile. And I'll tell you this, the reason I really 100% have chosen to do this for myself and for anyone that I teach is because several years ago I was at a class and the techniques had been taught so parochially that you had to use objects in the environment, the barrier, the range barrels, your holster, your belt, your boot, whatever, the sidewalk. And the instructor never once said to the student, drop your slide by depressing the slide catch. Rack your gun by hooking it on your holster. Everything that you need to work this firearm is already on your person, so work that way. So all you do now is, and you can do this through your shirt, which by the way is why this shirt, you can kind of see the striations. This shirt has holes in it because this is my training shirt, which is an exact copy of what I wear out on the streets. So anyways, Shirt comes up, grab the holster, and you saw the bullet fall out. Weapons clear, back on target. If you are talking, and I'm going to show you guys the mother of all malfunctions, the one that you never ever want to get, and if you get it, honestly, you're probably going to want to turn tail and run, for real. It's, some people call it a double feed. There's really no such thing on a handgun. It's really actually inline failure to extract. There we go. Inline failure to extract. All right, I got 2 rounds left. I can show this to you. Okay. Empty casing goes inside the chamber. Loaded magazine goes into the gun, and the slide is lowered against the round, against the casing that's in the chamber. The reason I lowered it gently is you can accidentally, training ammo isn't crimped, you can accidentally jam that round into the casing and potentially cause overpressure issues. But it's a Glock. You can take it. So, okay, so you've got this malfunction. Once again, you've got an injury. So you pull the trigger, and that trigger does that crap right there. And you go, okay, so I know what this is. So you're still going to work it. It's going to be tap. It's going to be rack if you're given the access of fingers. It doesn't matter how much you do this now. This gun's not going to rack. This is your clue. Boom, you automatically know what it is. Drop your mag. Whoop, oh crap, mag won't come out. Okay, you can now at this point, I've seen dudes hook it with your teeth. Don't do that, you'll lose your teeth. You can try to hook this on your holster. At that point, yeah, you may want to consider using something, but watch, this is pretty cool. If you depress that mag catch, and guys, I'm going to do this the hard way, left-handed. I have to partially let go of the gun. I depress the mag catch, and I slam hard against my leg. The mag falls out. Now, I can, once again, if I'm given use of fingers, I can rack the gun, rack the gun, rack the gun. You always want to do it 3 times. And then next mag comes up, mag goes in, rack the gun, back on target. Now, did I have to take a knee? No. Did I have to find an object in the environment to use? No. When I've seen this being taught one-handed in other instances, guys, seriously vapor lock on this stuff. They lock up. I've seen guys literally do the pee-pee dance in a circle, trying to find something they can use in the environment. I'm not laughing at any of them, because I get it and I've been there, because I wasn't being given proper instruction. Why am I doing this video? Because I want to give you proper instruction. This is not that hard. It's not. This just requires a little attention to detail. If I've been told that my hand is completely and utterly out of the equation, all right, let's do that. All right, so we're going to set this up, and I'm going to do this the hardest way possible. Empty casing goes in. I guess I better show you guys. 1 round in the magazine. There's literally only 1 round in that magazine, okay? The reason I'm showing you that is so you understand there's no added weight to this mag to help it to strip out of the gun. Mag goes in the weapon, slide goes forward. I'm going to take this entire arm out of the equation, and I'm going to do this slowly so you guys understand this is a survivable thing, okay? I've got an extra mag right there, okay? This malfunction is, if you train for it, it's relatively self-evident because the gun comes up and you get that. You tap, now at this point you've got to rack against something. And like I was saying earlier, try to do things on your person at all times. Well, your support hand can't do this for you. So now you would drag this and hook it here. So you expose your holster. Go against the holster, pushing out away from the body, and you try to rack. Okay, you now know what you've got on your hands. Mag's got to come out, but you got to do it with only on your person. Well, here's what you do. Mag release gets depressed hard. That mag doesn't want to come out. It's stuck in there because that round is has a shelving type of action going forward, and this round is not wanting to just casually fall out. So what you have to do now is depress the mag catch, slam it against your leg, boom, mag is already broken free. Now, go back to the holster. 1, 2, 3. And if you're lucky enough to actually partially retain that mag, great. But honestly, that mag is most likely going to fall out of the gun if it has even just a few rounds in it. This gun is empty. It goes back into the holster. Extra mag comes out. Mag goes in. Weapon comes out. and you rack. Ta-da! Not that hard. And yeah, I've done this at speed. I've done this at classes, and guys have gone, what did I just see? Because it happened so fast that they couldn't understand how I did it that quickly with my hand completely taken out of commission. All I did was practice a little bit of time here at home. A little time here on the range, and you can remember you can do this at home with dummy rounds. This stuff is not that hard. No matter what people tell you, empty casings can go in the chamber and will come out of the chamber, will not cause any issues. Same with a rifle. You can do the same exact, actually you can do the same thing with a rifle easier than you can with a handgun. In fact, you know what? I'll show you. All right, every malfunction on a rifle is honestly, it's vanilla. With the exception of bolt override, which with all honesty, guys, I've only seen a bolt override, I think once. Bolt override is when a casing somehow magically manages to actually get up inside of the little cutout on a charging handle. All right, with your bolt override, you're trying to do, the round has somehow worked its way up inside, and it's gotten up into that cutout in the charging handle. And as soon as you try to go home with it, you have the round jammed up in there, and it's partially made its way out from underneath the charging handle, and that front claw has kind of got it jammed in. So here's what ends up happening. You pull the trigger, you have a dead trigger. Tap, jam it into an object, stabilize the weapon by pushing into it. Rack, you realize something is really weird here. No matter what you try to do, this is not working. You now know you've got a problem. So now you have to find a way to lock this open. And this is the instance where, yes, having a barrier to work with helps. You press the bottom of the bolt catch and you run the weapon forward until you get that little telltale click. And now the charging handle is actually locked to the, the bolt is locked to the rear. Now you extract the mag and let the mag go, and it's 1, 2, 3. That weapon should be empty. Extra mag comes out, which is why it's good to carry an extra mag on your shooting side. And you hook your thumb in the trigger guard so you can push in the mag, and then it's tug, and then it's rack, and then actually, yeah, this is the totally dumb arm, and then you're back on target. Actually, I better not shoot that target because I'll go right through it. Plastic target. And you're done. Like I said, that's the hardest malfunction to deal with on a rifle, which is why I go right to that malfunction when I'm showing malfunctions to people so they understand. The worst case scenario, which like I said, I've only seen one time in the wild, and when I saw it, I went, wow, how did that even happen? The student didn't know, the instructor was like, yeah, and I go, guys, I've never seen, I mean, I trained for it, but I've never seen it. That's how rare that malfunction is. So one-handed shooting is not that difficult a thing to do, because look guys, one-handed shooting I've already shown you with a handgun, with a rifle, right? One-handed shooting is almost identical to two-handed shooting. It's just this limb is creating dynamic tension to this limb, and they're opposing one another and pushing in, pushing out, and you're locking the weapon in. That's easy. If you're talking about one-handed shooting, the question then becomes, why are you shooting one-handed? And you have to answer that question with, I'm injured. If I'm injured, I just showed you how to fix that problem. If you guys have any questions or comments, leave them below. As always, I thank you guys for watching. God bless you all. Get those guns out in practice. Have a good one.